Stop scrolling for a second and listen closely, because this may explain something you have been trying to understand for a long time. Not everyone will feel this message the same way, but if your chest tightened, if your mind went quiet, if something inside you told you to stay, then this is for you. Some connections do not enter your life softly. They shake your inner world. They disturb your sleep. They follow you into the silence and return when everything else fades. You may have tried to be practical about it. You may have told yourself to move on, calm down, forget it, stop reading into signs that may not mean anything. But still, the feeling stayed. Still, the memory returned. Still, the bond felt different from anything you had known before. And that is where this begins, not with fantasy, not with confusion, but with the strange experience of feeling something so deeply that logic cannot fully hold it. Stay with me, because what comes next matters. There are moments in life when the heart reacts before the mind has words, when your whole being recognizes something your thoughts are still trying to deny. Maybe this person appeared and changed the atmosphere around you. Maybe nothing was fully explained, yet everything felt unusually intense. Maybe the silence between you somehow carried more weight than words. If that is true, then do not turn away now, because this message is about why some bonds refuse to disappear, why distance does not always mean the end, and why certain feelings remain because they carry a truth you were never meant to ignore. Your presence here is not random, and what you are about to hear may finally put language to what your soul has been trying to show you all along. For a long time, you may have carried this quietly. You did not want to sound foolish. You did not want people telling you that you imagined it, that you were too emotional, too attached, too hopeful, or simply unable to let go. So you kept it to yourself. You smiled when needed. You acted normal. You tried to fill your days with noise, tasks, other conversations, other distractions, but in the middle of all that, something deeper kept calling for your attention. It returned in the early morning. It returned late at night. It came back in the stillness, in the pauses, in those moments when you could no longer escape yourself. That is important. Feelings built only from fear usually weaken when new distractions arrive. Simple attachment often changes shape when circumstances change. But some experiences do not fade that way. Some remain because they are trying to reveal something. What if this is not your mind creating pressure, but your inner self pointing towards something real? What if the reason the feeling stays is because it comes from a place within you that understands more than your surface thoughts can explain? Think about that. You did not force this. You did not schedule it. You did not design this intensity and then forget how to shut it off. It rose on its own. It stayed on its own. And the longer you tried to silence it, the stronger it seemed to become. That does not mean you must lose yourself in it. It means you should stop insulting your own intuition. Sometimes the quiet voice inside you is not confusion at all. Sometimes it is the first honest signal you have received in a very long time. What you are feeling may not be a passing emotional wave. It may be recognition. Not just attraction, not just curiosity. Recognition. The kind that reaches deeper than appearance. Deeper than timing, deeper than ordinary explanation. It can feel like your spirit noticed something before your mind caught up. That is why the connection can seem impossible to describe. You search for language, but the words always feel too small. You try to reduce it to chemistry, to coincidence, to loneliness, to wishful thinking, and yet none of those explanations fully match what happened inside you. Listen carefully here. There is a difference between longing for someone and recognizing them as a turning point in your life. Longing often comes from emptiness. Recognition comes with a strange inner certainty, even when circumstances are unclear. Longing panics. Recognition often carries a quiet gravity. One drains you. The other awakens you even when it hurts. And yes, the mind will argue. The mind, shaped by old disappointment and fear of being hurt again, will always try to protect you through doubt. It says, slow down, do not trust this, do not believe what you cannot control. That voice is not evil, it is protective. But protection can become a prison when it refuses to let truth enter. So ask yourself honestly, did this connection only make you crave, or did it also wake you up? Did it only make you anxious, or did it also make you more aware, more honest, more alive, more aware of parts of yourself that had been asleep? Because if it awakened something real in you, then this is not just about another person. It is also about who you are becoming because of what this bond revealed. One sign of a deep connection is not chaos, but calm. That may surprise you. People often assume that intensity must always look dramatic, restless and loud. But some of the strongest bonds bring a strange stillness beneath the surface noise. Even when distance appears, even when there is silence, part of you does not fully collapse. Something in you remains aware. Something stays steady. It is not because the situation is easy. It is because your deeper self recognizes that what is true is not erased by a temporary absence. That does not mean you avoid pain. It means the pain exists beside a quiet knowing, and that knowing feels different from panic. Another sign is how much of yourself this connection brought to light. Maybe it showed you your fears. Maybe it exposed your walls. Maybe it made you see how often you settled for less than what your heart truly wanted. Maybe it forced you to confront your need for control, your fear of rejection, your habit of acting strong while secretly feeling fragile. A powerful bond can feel like a mirror. It does not only show you the beauty you carry, it also reveals the wounds you still need to heal. That is why these connections can feel overwhelming. They are not soft little fantasies. They activate what has been hidden. They bring your truth close enough that you can no longer pretend not to see it. And then there is the third sign, persistence. The feeling does not simply vanish because you told it to. It does not disappear just because life became complicated. It remains, maybe quieter on some days, stronger on others, but still there, asking you to pay attention. Stay with this, because the persistence itself tells a story. Not every feeling deserves to be followed. But feelings that continue to return with depth, clarity, and inner meaning should not be dismissed like background noise. Then comes the question that has likely lived in your chest for a long time. If this is real, why the distance? Why the silence? Why the separation? Why would something that felt so meaningful become unclear, interrupted, or paused? This is where many people give up. They assume that difficulty proves the bond was false. They assume that if something were real, it would arrive easily, unfold smoothly, and remain constant without resistance. But life does not always work that way. Some connections enter before both people are ready to carry them. Some arrive with purpose but not with immediate stability. Some begin by awakening, not by settling. That is why a pause can happen. Not because the bond has no meaning, but because the meaning is bigger than the first stage allowed you to understand. Certain ties cannot grow properly inside old fear, emotional immaturity, or unhealed patterns. So life creates space. It creates silence. It creates a season where both people must face themselves without using the connection as an escape. This part is hard, but hear it fully. Separation is not always rejection. Sometimes it is preparation. Sometimes what feels like loss is the clearing of everything that would have damaged the bond if it had continued in the same form. Some people meet too early. The feeling is real, but the foundation is not ready. The emotions are strong, but the inner structure cannot hold them yet. So there is distance. There is confusion. There is a painful stillness that feels unbearable. Yet beneath that stillness, something may still be moving. Do not click away mentally here. This is the part most people misunderstand. Silence can look empty from the outside while something enormous is changing underneath it. When a bond matters deeply, it does not arrive only to entertain you for a season. It arrives to change you. That change may begin in longing, but it cannot end there. It has to push you toward growth. That is why so many of your nights may have felt heavy. You were not only missing someone, you were being led into a confrontation with yourself. Every memory, every ache, every moment of replaying old conversations or unfinished feelings may have been shaping you into someone more aware, more honest, more awake. The heartache was not meaningless. It was revealing where you still doubted your worth, where you still feared abandonment, where you still confused love with self-loss. And once those things are exposed, you can no longer pretend they are not there. This is what many people never understand. A meaningful connection may not simply ask, "Do you love them?" It may ask, "Will you finally heal what has kept you from receiving love clearly?" That changes everything, because now the focus is not only on reunion or answers or signs from the outside. Now the focus becomes your inner transformation. The bond stirs your life so that you stop living half awake. It pushes you to become stronger, clearer, more rooted in yourself. It teaches you that waiting passively is not growth. Growth is becoming whole enough that love no longer turns into fear, control, pressure, or desperation inside you. And yes, this process can feel slow. It can feel unfair. It can feel like you were given a glimpse of something beautiful and then left alone with the echo. But maybe the echo has purpose. Maybe it is shaping the part of you that was never meant to remain asleep. Keep listening, because this is where the story begins to open wider. There are times when the quiet season feels almost cruel. You wonder why you cannot simply stop caring. You wonder why your mind returns to the same person, the same energy, the same unfinished chapter. You tell yourself it would be easier to shut the door completely, and yet something in you refuses, not out of weakness, not out of obsession, but because some truths do not leave just because circumstances are difficult. Real inner recognition waits underneath the noise of daily life, patient and steady, asking only for honesty. And honesty is hard when it asks you to admit that this mattered more than you wanted it to. Still, do not confuse honesty with fantasy. You are not being asked to worship an illusion. You are being asked to respect what your deeper self has learned through this experience. Maybe this connection showed you what depth feels like. Maybe it showed you how empty certain old patterns were. Maybe it exposed the difference between surface attention and soul-level impact. That matters. Even if the path is still unclear, the awakening itself is real. The silence may be part of the lesson. The distance may be shaping your strength. The ache may be teaching you how to stand in your own value without forcing outcomes. This is not about sitting still and doing nothing with your life. It is about refusing to lie to yourself. It is about moving forward without betraying what you know you felt. It is about understanding that not every pause is an ending. Some pauses are hidden preparation. Some pauses are life rearranging what your eyes cannot yet see. And if this message is hitting something deep inside you, then pay attention, because the next part may explain why the quiet season exists at all and why it may be more meaningful than you first believed. Imagine two people crossing paths before either one is truly ready. The energy is powerful. The recognition is immediate. The emotions rise fast. But beneath that intensity are old wounds, unspoken fears, survival habits, trust issues, and patterns built long before they met. If the connection continued without interruption, all of that unresolved weight could turn something sacred into something unstable. What should have healed might instead become chaotic. What should have opened the heart might instead trigger defense, avoidance, fear, and emotional confusion. So life creates a pause. Not always to end the bond, but sometimes to protect it from being damaged by versions of you that are still ruled by pain. That is why this season matters. It teaches you how to stand alone without collapsing. It forces you to face the fear of abandonment, the need for certainty, the old belief that love must be chased, controlled, or earned through suffering. It invites you to fill yourself first, to discover the strength that does not depend on another person's constant presence. This is not punishment. It is training. It is refinement. It is the quiet work that makes deeper love possible later. And while you are doing that work, the energy between you may not be dead at all. It may be changing shape. It may be clearing what would have blocked it. It may be waiting for both lives to align with a level of maturity the first meeting could not yet hold. Read that again in your spirit. The pause is not always absence. Sometimes it is alignment in progress. Sometimes it is the invisible bridge being built while the visible path looks empty. If you understand that, then you stop measuring truth only by external contact and begin paying attention to inner evolution instead. And this transformation may not be happening only in you. Even when you cannot see the other side, even when silence makes it easy to assume indifference, that does not mean nothing is moving within them. People awaken differently. Some lean into their feelings quickly. Others resist until life leaves them no place to hide. Some search for answers. Others avoid them. Some listen to intuition. Others try to bury it under routine, logic, distraction, and denial. But avoiding a truth does not erase it. Often, it only delays the moment it becomes impossible to ignore. What you read as distance may actually be struggle. What looks like emotional calm may be inner conflict. What seems like forgetting may be deep remembering that they do not yet know how to face. People build stories to protect themselves. It meant nothing. It was bad timing. I am fine. I do not care anymore. But when a connection cuts deep, those stories begin to crack. The things that once distracted them stop working the same way. The noise becomes thinner. The silence becomes louder. Memories return unexpectedly. A song, a place, a passing moment, a dream, a sudden wave of feeling, and there you are again in their awareness. Not because anyone forced it, because something unresolved continues to speak. This matters, so stay with this thought. Silence is not always proof of emptiness. Sometimes silence is where the deepest realizations begin. Some people only understand the value of a bond after distance removes the comfort of pretending they were unaffected. Some hearts wake up late, but they still wake. And when they do, the inner world becomes impossible to lie to. Their ego may be the strongest wall in all of this. Ego fears vulnerability. It fears uncertainty. It fears surrendering control to something it cannot measure. So it builds distance. It creates explanations. It acts cold. It becomes busy. It chooses pride over honesty because pride feels safer than exposure. But a deep bond does not vanish just because the ego wants quiet. In fact, silence often becomes the exact place where false stories begin to fall apart. The people, habits, and routines once used for escape can start to feel strangely empty. The comfort is no longer comfort. The distractions lose their power. What used to numb them starts reflecting the truth right back at them. That is when life becomes uncomfortable in a different way. Not because they are being punished, but because avoidance has become too expensive. The inner call grows louder. They may still resist outwardly. They may still say nothing. They may still act as if everything is under control. But inside, something is changing. They are confronting what they felt. They are facing memories they tried to push away. They are realizing that some bonds do not dissolve just because they were inconvenient or intense or badly timed. This is why you must be careful not to make silence mean more than it actually does. Silence can hide fear. Silence can hide processing. Silence can hide an awakening that has not yet found words. It can also be part of the larger timing neither of you fully understands yet. So instead of obsessing over what is not being said, pay attention to what this season is teaching you. Your job is not to break into someone else's inner world. Your job is to stay honest about your own, to keep growing, to keep clearing what once made love feel like danger, and to remain open without becoming lost. What feels delayed may actually be precise timing doing its invisible work. Life is not always late. Sometimes it is exact. Sometimes what looks like a closed door is simply a door that will not open until the ground beneath it is strong enough. If this connection carries real meaning, then it was never meant to rest only on emotion. Emotion begins it. Growth prepares it. Clarity stabilizes it. Wholeness sustains it. That is why you are being asked to evolve, not just to wait. Waiting without growth turns pain into stagnation. But growth during uncertainty turns pain into wisdom. And wisdom changes the energy of everything. As you become more grounded, less reactive, less desperate for proof, something begins to shift. Your relationship with yourself becomes stronger. Your fear loses some of its control. Your need to force answers weakens. You stop chasing clarity from the outside because you start building it from within. That inner shift matters more than you know. It changes the way you carry the bond. It changes the message you send into life itself. Love held with maturity feels different from love held with fear. One clings. The other trusts. One begs for signs every hour. The other becomes available for truth without collapsing when timing is unclear. That is the new energy this script is asking you to step into. Not blind fantasy, not emotional imprisonment, not endless waiting, but quiet strength, deep trust in what is real, courage to face your healing honestly, and readiness for whatever form truth eventually takes. Because when something is for your growth, it will not ask you to become smaller. It will not ask you to abandon your life. It will ask you to become more complete, more awake, more anchored than before. That is what this season has been building in you, even on the days you thought nothing was happening at all. So stop telling yourself that you made everything up just because the path has been difficult. Stop insulting your own heart every time it remembers. Stop calling it foolish every time something inside you says the story is not finished. Maybe it is not finished. Maybe it is paused. Maybe this chapter has been unfolding underneath the surface in ways your mind cannot yet organize into a neat explanation. That does not mean you stop living. It means you live more fully. You become the version of yourself this connection came to awaken. You do the healing. You tell the truth. You release what is old. You stop begging for crumbs. You stop shrinking. You stop acting like love is something you must chase while abandoning your own center. If a bond is real, it will not require you to disappear in order to keep it alive. It will ask for your honesty, your growth, your courage, and your willingness to stand in your own worth. That is the shift. That is the higher lesson inside all this. The connection is not here to ruin you. It is here to refine you. It is here to strip away illusions, expose the cracks, deepen your awareness, and guide you into a version of yourself that can hold something greater than surface affection. If this message has been speaking directly to your situation, then hold on for one more moment, because this is where everything becomes clear. What is truly meant to shape your life does not always arrive in a simple form, but it always leaves evidence in your soul. And once your soul has recognized it, you cannot return to who you were before. That is why this has stayed with you. That is why it still matters. That is why you are still here listening. And maybe the most powerful part of all is this: you do not need to know every detail of the future to honor the truth of the present. You do not need a final answer tonight to understand that something meaningful happened here. You do not need constant contact to know that a bond changed you deeply. The mind wants timelines, proof, guarantees, and visible outcomes. The deeper self often works differently. It notices patterns. It responds to energy. It understands through resonance before explanation arrives. So if you have been caught between what you feel and what you can prove, breathe. You are not being asked to solve the entire mystery in one moment. You are being asked to stay honest with what this connection awakened inside you. Let that honesty guide your next steps. Let it make you stronger, not weaker. Let it turn you inward where healing happens, where self-respect grows, where fear loosens its grip, and where clarity becomes something you carry instead of something you beg for. Then, whether this bond returns in visible form soon, later, or in a way you do not yet expect, you will be ready. Ready not from desperation, but from wholeness. Ready not from fantasy, but from inner truth. And if this chapter is still alive beneath the silence, then what is being built now matters more than you can see. So trust the work, trust the growth, trust what your spirit has been trying to say beneath all the noise. Some people enter your life and pass through like weather. Others enter and change the structure of your soul. You already know which kind this was. And that is why, no matter how quiet things became, something in you never truly said goodbye.